Del Toro, though, not out of it, as Van Aert skirts with disaster on that corner, sprints for the line, and takes the win he has yearned for week after week and months of suffering. Van Aert, a winner at the Giro d'Italia in the Piazza del Campo.
The second and final individual time trial in the 2025 Giro d'Italia, an all-Tuscan affair, setting out from the heart of Lucca, over 28.6 predominantly flat kilometres, to a finish in Pisa, in the shadow of the Leaning Tower itself. An opportunity for the time trial specialists to sniff out a stage win, and for those riders who had taken a knock in the general classification on the Stadato stage to make gains on their opponents. Alexander Krieger then, from Tudor Pro Cycling, the first of 171 riders off the start ramp, with Michael Hepburn going shortly after that, the Australian specialist time trialist. And after him, on dry roads, Ethan Hayter as well, looking to improve on his performance in the individual time trial in Tirana. The weather forecast would be of great interest as the afternoon went on, but on dry roads it was Hepburn and Hayter who was setting the best pace early on. After that, Edoardo Affini, one of the early starters in the European Champions jersey. And as Ethan Hayter approached the checkpoints, he was going fastest of all, and Edoardo Affini out on the road just a little bit down on the pace of the British time trial specialist. A couple of scary moments for Dan Hoole, the Dutch national champion, early on, but as he approached the checkpoints we got a sense that Dan Hoole was going extremely well. The big Dutch rider turning a big gear, well suited to this flat course on these dry roads. Edoardo Affini continuing to lose a bit of time towards the end. Ethan Hayter, briefly the fastest rider at the finish line in Pisa, but it was only briefly because out on the course, Dan Hoole continuing to set the best pace. And coming towards the finish line then, as Josh Tarling, the man who won the first individual time trial, went off the start ramp in pursuit of another victory. Tarling, through the first 8 kilometres, far faster than anyone else, and looking to establish a big lead out on the road. Dan Hoole, coming to the line in Pisa though, had ridden a brilliant second half of the time trial to take the best time from Ethan Hayter. Dan Hoole, the Dutch national time trial champion, had to wait and watch on nervously as Josh Tarling, fading a little bit towards the end, could only cross the line in second place, 7 seconds down on Dan Hoole, cheered on by his teammates remotely. After that, it was Mattia Cattaneo who put in a fine performance, not really threatening though to take the time of Dan Hoole. And then the weather started to change. Primož Roglič then, in 10th place in the general classification, going off on mostly dry roads, but at the finish line there were drops of rain already starting to fall, and that got worse throughout the afternoon. Egan Bernal then, also having to deal with worsening weather conditions. Antonio Tiberi, the third from last rider, trying to fend off Richard Carapaz, who was flying on the course to hold on to his podium place. Primož Roglič out on the course was going well despite the conditions. And then Juan Ayuso, wearing the white jersey on behalf of Isaac Del Toro in the Maglia Rosa, the last two riders off in now torrential rain, falling at the start and at the finish. Roglič crossed the line and set the benchmark for all the other GC riders to aim at, and out on the course Juan Ayuso was going really well, up on the time of Primož Roglič through the checkpoints. Isaac Del Toro losing time relative to his teammate Juan Ayuso in the opening few kilometres, but recovering and holding with a very mature performance his form. Egan Bernal conceding time in the general classification. Juan Ayuso up still on the time of Primož Roglič on the only descent on wet roads. A fine time trial from Juan Ayuso. Still with an advantage over Roglič going into the last 8 kilometres. Isaac Del Toro hoping to defend his 1 minute and 13 seconds advantage in the Maglia Rosa against his teammate. Antonio Tiberi, with an outstanding second half of the individual time trial, crossed the line in the pouring rain ahead of Juan Ayuso, and Isaac Del Toro, in the end, relatively comfortably defending his jersey, despite the fact that he handed over a lot of seconds on GC. No doubt about the winner though, Dan Hoole on dry roads, blasting his way to victory. Only a second ever win as a professional for the Domestique from Lidl-Trek, and a fourth win for Lidl-Trek at the Giro, ahead of Josh Tarling in second place and Ethan Hayter in third. That was the stage victory then. The Maglia Rosa being worn again by Isaac Del Toro, but with a much reduced advantage on GC, which took an almighty shuffling. Juan Ayuso still in second, Tiberi in third, Primož Roglic now from 10th up to 5th at 118. Mads Pedersen continues to lead the Maglia Ciclamino, an unchanged top 10 in that competition. And there were no King of the Mountains points today, so Lorenzo Fortunato still has the same lead in the blue jersey standings. The white jersey obviously still led by Isaac Del Toro at 21. There'll be many more white jerseys in his career to come, and a pretty much unchanged top 10 in that competition. And Dan Hoole also taking the Tudor Special Award of the day.